Value for money is a strange concept. Those who care the most about value tend to find it the hardest to appreciate those things whose values come into question, and yet those who care the least about value appreciate the product, but not necessarily where else that money could have gone. For instance, here's two beverages, functionally identical 22 ounces of 11% alcohol beer, and you could have 3 of the dark one for the price of 1 of the light one. Here we have 2 chef's knives slicing an onion. One knife slices the onion nearly identical to the other, and yet Mr. Red Handle is $39 while the other is $500. You could have a full set of perfectly functional cookware for that. The difference in beer, in chef's knives, and in the top level of car building is of course all about the details. Which brings us to Chatsworth, California, the home of Icon. There are any number of places to get a restored Toyota FJ or Bronco, especially in Southern California, and a fine example could cost around $50,000. An Icon, starting at around $120,000. The value-minded buyer might walk away, but let us show you exactly what he'd be missing. The parking lot at Icon is like an old car picker's dream. FJs, Broncos, Willys Jeeps, stuff from the 40s and 50s all the way through the 90s are stacked 2 and 3 deep awaiting restoration. They're sourced from all over the world through Icon's 4 full-time recon men. And believe it or not, all these project heaps are already spoken for. How does it work? We need to go inside the mind of the company's founder, Jonathan Ward.
So ideally, the car that we source is still running, or at least kind of sort of running, and I'll take it out and drive it, and that interface, that S-ometer time, helps me understand what the targets are. So what doesn't work well, what doesn't look right, what's begging for improvement, and it's just a simple list that will start out, and that becomes the foundation for it. I'll sit down with the design team on the job, and we'll start kind of group debating it, ideally after hours with scotch or beer involved, and we'll literally just try and put ourselves in the shoes of that original designer and go, what did he really want? And sometimes we can actually find the original drawings, which is really kick-ass. If we can find, let's say on a 68 Mustang, what the original concept drawings were before it went through process and kind of got watered down, and then we'll steal those elements. But usually can't find them, so we just make them up. Then I was picking up a client at the airport, where I go to the cab, in the control room. Oh wait, where are those from? These kick-ass polarized Lexan, multiple axis adjustments, CNC, PVD visors. So we researched it, and we use those in almost everything we build now. So they're like Learjet's OEM visors, and they're really cool. Skyscraper glass. So we figured out how to wet CNC and then post CNC temper architectural glass, because architectural glass, what do you want? Green tint, brown tint, blue tint, gray tint. What shade of gray? What percentage of shine? What percentage of matte? Way better. And LED lighting. All of our lighting is mostly aircraft source, submarine. Connectors. Military's yummy for connectors. An aircraft vendor builds our harnesses for our production stuff, like the BRs and the FJs, and they all have these kick-ass bulkheads that interface all the systems. The interior panels on the Bronco are all water jet cut, impressed stainless, and that's supposed to be in elevators for the cool wall veneers. And Toyota never officially called them FJ anything. That was just culture picked up on it from the VIN. They were just Land Cruisers. The VINs started with F, then J, so F meant gas, J designated the Jeep body style, but they never used the J word. And then 40 was wheelbase or whatever else. So then B was diesel, H was 6-cylinder diesel. So it just culture picked up and stuck with it, so they never trademarked it, which blew my mind.
Oh, dude, all right. This is the FJ44. I like it because it never actually existed. No joke, this was not a real thing. Jonathan had a customer who wanted something bigger than a 40, and he designed and made one. Quick bit of history, the Toyota Land Cruiser, FJ and more, can trace its roots back all the way to World War II, when the Imperial Army found some of U.S. Willys Jeeps abandoned in the islands of the South Pacific. They took them home and they had Toyota reverse engineer them and essentially make copies of American Jeeps. So the J in FJ actually does stand for Jeep. Model evolved over many generations, and this version, well, the two-door version anyway, was in production from 1958 until all the way to 2000 in some countries. And now, once again, thanks to Icon. I'm really digging this lounged out seating position. A lot of room in the back there too. Is this 3 rows? Oh yeah, we get the 3rd row.
Really?
Yeah. Screw a minivan, dude. We gotta get one of these. And it's like, my air conditioning's on, I'm not blowing cold, but you wanna just go straight down with this, bring it right in. Window down. Done. Now we're lounging here. Oh yeah. I like this GM 5.7 LS engine here. 5-speed manual gearbox, very easy to drive. There's separate levers for the front and rear differentials, and we've got some ARB lockers here. ARB locker switches are the only plastic switches in here. Everything else for the climate control, lights, wipers, all metal. Really easy to rev match. I don't know what it is. It's something about this steering wheel, the column, the rack, the wheels. I can't believe I'm saying that it is a joy to steer something like this, because that makes no logical sense compared to the sports cars that I drive. But it's like just the right amount of turns and the right amount of resistance and the right amount of angle to the wheel, and like it all just kind of fits this character of not what driving something like this has been, but what it should be and could be. Let's take a look at how it does off-road, just a little bit. First of all, I'm in 2-wheel drive high, so I haven't even had to change anything. And it just kind of goes over stuff. Don't really have to correct much. Just simple application of throttle and not too much steering, stay to the deep ruts, we're good. In full 4-lock, you've got a top speed of about 25 miles an hour. Don't need that, we're just in first gear. 1200 RPM, yeah. There's a little bit more Billy Goat stuff, but obviously not an issue at all. You could buy an original FJ for not much money, restore it to a reasonable degree, put a bigger motor in it, and you'd have something cool, but you wouldn't have this. This is a complete package. It's a whole other thing. And it's not flashy in a sense that you're trying to arrive, you're trying to show off, announce your presence, because if you don't know what this is, you really won't look at it twice other than to go, oh, that's cool. But if you do know what it is, and if you know the engineering behind it, and if you really start peeking around the little details here, all of a sudden it becomes easily worth the money. And that goes double when you drive it.
You know, oddly enough, it really varies a lot depending on the age of the car. So like, it seems the older the cars, the purer the designs were, but the bigger the car companies got and the focus groups and accounting priorities and stuff change, so the newer the car, the more stuff we find we want to change. We're not trying to make an apple into a pear or screw with it or repurpose it. We're trying to improve on it visually from the perspective of the original design, and then mechanically, obviously, there's a lot more complexity. One of the cool things about what we do is all the cooler people that we get to meet that are geeks like us. So we met this guy, his name's Josh Welton, Brown Dog Welding in Detroit. We're really trying to support him, and all of our clients, when they order a car, they can opt to have a model built by Josh.
Building the best of something doesn't necessarily mean it's the most capable. If that were true, we'd all be driving rock crawlers rather than Range Rovers. Sometimes the best version of something can be the simplest, purest way, like a 22-ounce beer or a 10-inch chef's knife, just broken down, rethought from the ground up, and made, well, better.